section.
Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome in to another edition of the JP Peterson Show on this playoff Tuesday as the Lightning get set to embark on another Stanley Cup quest in the playoffs, and it has taken so long to get here. I kind of feel like the regular season has been a complete preseason to what's about to happen. So welcome in. We're going to jump in on the Bolts. We got lots of Buck stuff to talk about, some interesting interviews yesterday with Tristan Wirfs and Kyle Trask, who said the competition is open. Let's get it on, among the rest of a very, unexciting. I don't want to say it's boring, do I? Okay, boring press conference from Kyle Trask. But that, of course, does not a football player make. It's about making plays, so who cares about the press conference, right? But we got lots to talk about. We'll get into that. The Rays lose again in Cincinnati, their house of horrors. So lots to get into today. We got NBA playoffs. We got NHL playoffs. We got everything. Good morning to you, Nick Geddes, and I got to sneeze.
Yeah, let you get that sneeze break out of the way there.
Wow, yeah, the allergies are kicking in. Good morning.
The allergies are kicking. Good morning.
Yeah, what's
Good
up?
morning. A great day in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it is.
Great day. It's playoff. It's playoffs, baby. It's playoffs.
It's so funny. Like we start tonight with Toronto. We've talked a lot about it. I feel like we've been previewing this playoff series for 3 months now.
I know.
So we're like, okay, so what should we start with this morning? Should we go in on the? And I'm like, well, you were like the Bucks. This is some interesting stuff. We got to get to the Bucks. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like how it is. It feels like it's a little bit more fun to talk about because we're just kind of waiting to see what happens with the Lightning. Seriously, it's just exactly what it feels like. It's like we've talked about it. We've set up the series. There's a lot of different fun storylines going into this. But the bottom line is I don't know. I don't know what team we're going to see tonight. You know, maybe this Lightning team just is not as good because of the loss of McDonough and Palat and Ruda. And the guys that have replaced him have just not been able to get the team to play as good defensively as they were. Or is it the predominant feeling that I've had for months and months and months is this team is mentally and physically exhausted. They're just doing everything they can to get into the playoffs and just and then revive and ready to go. I should say they were mentally and physically exhausted. I think they've been pointing in just like I used this analogy before. I'll use it again, like a marathon runner. You know, they've just been kind of cruising in the middle of the pack and just, when they need to give a little kick to make sure that they're, going to be up in the, for the final 2-mile sprint, that they're going to be in position to go. And that's all that they've really been concerned about, conserving energy, conserving everything as much as they can because they've run a bunch of marathons before. They know how this works. So it's like I'm not going to just go out there and start running, sprinting because I got a new coach in Boston and we're just going to be the greatest team ever. And then when you get to the playoffs, you're spent because you spent it all on getting, making a record regular season run. We'll see. Boston won last night 3-1. But I watched a good portion of that game. I didn't think they were the dominant team. I thought the Panthers were a better team for most of the first two periods anyway.
And Boston didn't even have Berger on in that game,
They did
mind
not.
you.
They did not.
But I agree with you. I thought Florida was the better team for majority of that and was push and play.
Yeah. Omar was good last night.
Omar
He was
is really
really good last night. I think he was the difference in the game. So the point being is these are going to be different teams in the playoffs. All of them are. And, Toronto's going to be different. They've changed their entire makeup of their team to emulate the Lightning to be better in the playoffs. Will it work? We don't know. We've never seen Toronto do it. We've seen Tampa Bay do it. So, I think to me it's a huge mystery. Are all these subpar numbers for Vasilevsky, does it mean he's slipping at age 28 or 20? No, he's in his prime. It means the players in front of him may not be as good, but it also means when he flips the switch, he's going to be that guy. And it may not be in game one. Like last year, they were pretty much, Toronto had their way the first, every other game they were scoring. But when it came down to backs against the wall, you had 2-1. He let in one goal in the final game. So, like I've said before, until they show me they can't do it in a full series, I'm going to think that they're going to do it. And I think honestly, this is a good matchup for the Lightning. I think Toronto's good, but they're playoff chokers. It's what they are.
They have been, but like I've been saying, they're at some point. I believe Toronto is going to break through with this core. This core is just way too good. It's way too talented, filled, in my opinion, for them not to break through at some point. And I have this feeling this could be that year for Toronto. Now, here's the thing, though. What's different about this year is they are the favorite in every way you look at it. I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention. I know the Lightning aren't paying attention, but it seems like everybody that's got an opinion on this series has Toronto winning with ease. With ease, Toronto winning the series.
Yeah.
And that's the difference this year. The Lightning are playing the underdog role. So how do they respond to being in the underdog role? I think it's a good thing for a team that's seen almost everything.
Yes.
And that's the one thing I don't think they've seen in a long time is being the true underdog.
Yeah. And this should definitely fire them up. Cooper's going to have all the headlines and everything posted on the walls in there and let everybody know that everybody is doubting him. All the national pundits are doubting him. The Lightning can't do it. Too old, whatever. That's got to light their fire. It's got to.
I hope so. You're basically, because Toronto is like probably the team, like everybody has their teams in Canada, but I would say Toronto is probably, we're assigning that as the team of Canada, right?
Right.
So it's almost like you're going up against the whole country and you're trying to ruin an entire party.
Right.
That's what you're doing, essentially. Yeah. And I think when you look at it from that standpoint, you got to be salivating at the opportunity to do that.
Right. But also, that puts a lot of pressure on Toronto.
Yes.
And that's the stuff that we don't really feel here in this marketplace. We don't really feel that. And it's a reason why they have struggled for so long. Not the sole reason, but I think it's part of the reason that they have. I mean, they had the Lightning dead to rights last year, and they blew it. They blew
did.
it.
I thought that was the toughest series the Lightning faced up until Colorado, was that first round.
Yeah, they had a chance. The Lightning came back in Game 6 and then won Game 7, and the story continues. The curse continues.
And who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs? I mean, a good example last night was, the most trendy pick for the Stanley Cup Final this year has been Boston against Edmonton, and Edmonton comes in playing like the best hockey of anybody down the stretch. And what happened? They choked away a lead yesterday against the Kings in the final 10 seconds of the game, and then lose in overtime.
Right.
So the Oilers, the big bad Oilers, with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, drop game one at home like that, and who saw that coming?
Nobody. But that's good. You're going to see a lot of this in the playoffs. This is what happens in the NHL playoffs. It's the most, I think, of all the playoffs in the major sports, it's the most unpredictable. The most you see most time lower seeds beating higher seeds, and it's not. Nobody is really batting an eye because that's just the way hockey is. It's a different sport in the playoffs, and maybe it shouldn't be, but that's the way it is. So, we'll talk a little bit more hockey. We'll get some comments from John Cooper as we go through this. But we also want to get into what's going on with the Buccaneers. And, there's a lot of change coming to Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers. And a lot of it has to do, obviously, on the offensive side. And it's going to look completely different. We have talked about this a lot. And I've said many, many times for all those folks that, the offensive line was horrible. Giselle, talking to you, Giselle, and I know you watch all the time because you think Nick's really cute. But I think the offensive line was unfairly maligned last year because of the statue that they had to work with yesterday. And yes, Tristan Wirfs, as much as he loves Tom Brady, was just honest yesterday. And what I've said for a while now is how much better this offensive line can be with a mobile quarterback and an offense that puts you in the run-pass option dilemma and conflict, so that linebackers have to, wait a beat, defensive linemen have to wait a beat to see if it's pass or run. 90% of the time, they knew what was coming with the Buccaneers, and they knew where the quarterback was going to be. You know how, and I'm not defending Byron Leftwich, but I'm defending the offensive lineman. It's almost impossible to play offensive line given that formula in the NFL. As fast and as quick as these guys get off the ball, if they know it's pass every single time, and you also have different combination of blitz packages that you can send, it's going to be extremely difficult for an offensive lineman to block in that whole setup. It's just not, it's not fun. It's hard. It's hard to run the football because when you see safeties creeping up, and you can and I can't tell you how many times I saw this on tape. You would see the 5 offensive linemen, every one of them get their block. And you would say, okay, this running play, freeze it right now as the running back's getting the ball, the line is blocking everybody they should be blocking, and a hole is opening up, and the running back is heading to that hole. And so many times you would see a safety who is essentially unaccounted for in a lot of blocking schemes for runs, a safety coming up and filling that hole at the line of scrimmage, and it turns what should be a gain of 8 into a gain of 2. And that's where your running game is just dead in the water. When we get that extra guy filling in because they know the tells are all over the place as to run or pass. Whereas if you have a Baker Mayfield now or Kyle Trask who's sticking that ball in the belly of the running back and you don't know if it's run or pass, and you as a safety, you come up and you're filling that hole whoosh, and he pulls it and that tight end's running down the seam, it's easy pickings. That's what Lamar Jackson does. That's what Pat Mahomes does. That's what all these other guys are doing. This is the modern-day NFL offense that has come from college, and it's tough to defend. Todd Bowles knows that better than anybody. And now these offensive linemen are going to be working with, the guys of deception now, and not everything's not going to be on the table. So let's listen to Tristan Wirfs as politely as he can, tell you that blocking for Tom Brady is no picnic.
I think it's gonna open up a lot of options for us.
Offense.
Both those guys can run around with it a little bit. As much as I love Tom, you guys know how I feel about Tom, but it'll be, he can't run. But so it'll open up a little, some new stuff for us, and it'll be really exciting.
That was a very polite way of saying everything I just said. But coming from him, obviously, it carries a lot more weight. And it's true. It's true.
I mean, it is true, right? But I will say a large problem why the Bucs couldn't run the ball last year, and there were many factors into that, like you pointed out. But the other one was I don't think they had – maybe they were a little bit too much maligned, or a little maligned, rather, but they didn't really have the Jimmy and Joes up front like they used to. True run blockers in the middle with Marpet and
Right.
Jensen.
That's true.
I mean, that made a huge difference. Now, the argument to that was if you had the ability to do play action and all these different things, then maybe you would have had a lot more success trying to work around some of the deficiencies of the guys you have up front.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what the Bucs are counting on this year is maybe we have a similar group of characters, actually a little bit different because we're going to take Shaq Mason out of the equation.
Right.
Maybe we have like a similar group of characters.
Which is not a plus, by the way.
It's not a plus.
Not a plus.
We have the same group of guys for the most part there, but let's just add these new little wrinkles to try to get around it a little bit rather than just running power every single time.
That's how you coach it. And you're going to have a left tackle that has 2 arms, which is going to be big. Because as much as, we crap on Donovan Smith, we have to acknowledge the fact that he had a dislocated elbow. It was very hard for him to play last year. So that's a fact. So I think all of these things being considered, even if they don't draft an offensive tackle, which a lot of people have them drafting in the first round, I still think this offensive line can be really good with the experienced players that we have right now. And that's, Wirfs at left tackle. Leverett at left guard, I thought he played above average when he was in there. I think he's a good player. He scraps. I love his attitude that he brings. I love his intensity and the energy that he brings. But if not there, you could put, Robert Hainsey there, Aaron Stinney. Obviously you got Ryan Jensen back at center, Hainsey or Stinney at right guard. You could put Gedeke at right tackle. You could put Hainsey at right tackle. Both of those guys played it in college. So you've got 5 guys that have been, and 2 of them, by the way, who are Pro Bowlers. If you have 2 out of 5 that are Pro Bowlers on your offensive line, you should have a pretty good offensive line. And in the other 2 guys are, second and third round picks. So even if they don't draft an offensive line, which I think they will, they've got, I think, a good stand. Now you're going to need a lot more depth, and they've already signed some depth with some former starters in this league. So I'm not panicking about this offensive line. I think it has the ability to be really, really good. Now, do we have anything else on Wirfs on that particular subject, or there was a lot of good stuff there? Working at left tackle. Let's hear him talk about working at the left tackle position, number 10.
Definitely been working it just in case. I've been working both, just covered my bases. Not only anything's been confirmed. I've been seeing what everyone on Twitter says. So we'll wait till the draft. We'll wait till we sign somebody or whatever happens. So whatever happens. I'll be ready. But yeah, I have been working it.
And he'll be fine. Like I said, he can play left tackle. He could play guard. He could play center. He could probably play defensive tackle. Probably play edge rusher and be pretty damn good. Probably play power forward. He could do anything. That dude is an athletic freak.
Yeah, I think he described it as it's almost like wiping with your opposite hand, is how he described moving to left tackle.
Interesting.
So try to put yourself in that frame for a second.
Yeah, it can be a little awkward.
It's a little awkward, but eventually you'd probably get used to it.
Eventually you will get used to it. Wiping. Okay. All right. So this was something else that he said that I thought was very interesting that you texted me about as soon as it came out. And I love, Tristan.
He was very honest yesterday.
Very, very honest. Very, very honest. I love that about him, and he can be because he has the gravitas to do so. And I think it's good for this team. He's more honest than the head coach is, to be honest.
A little bit.
Yeah. There we go with this one.
Yeah, I think it is in a certain way. I feel like winning the Super Bowl was kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time. I feel like it united some groups of people or some guys, and it kind of made individuals. And I feel like it does that everywhere, So we want everyone to be together, and everyone to be like, yeah, we've done this. That we did that with this group of people in this year. That's in the past. We're here now. But we know what it takes. You know what I'm saying? So for us to get everyone on that same page of knowing what it takes to get that done, but not letting there be any individuals, is everyone with one goal, one collective in mind, all working for the same thing.
This is fascinating. This is fascinating to me because, and this is not on Tristan, by the way, so let's not blame Tristan for this part. But who did everybody think of when he said that? All together now, Devin White. Right? Twitter erupted with every Devin White meme. And as to confirm our suspicions, what did we find on the Philadelphia Eagles feed yesterday?
Yeah, they posted they're on Instagram announcing the Jalen Hurts contract, and Devin White commented, "Taking care of yours with a bright green heart."
Yeah. Because he's an excellent franchise player. You are not. You think you are, but you are not. I don't think Jalen Hurts is ranked in the bottom 5% by PFF. Not the Bible on how great everybody plays. I get it. But if you're in the bottom 10th at your position, you're not an elite player by any stretch of the imagination. If you turn on the tape, anybody who watches football can see that Devin White makes some incredible splash plays, but he's not consistent. And he gets taken advantage of with his over-aggressiveness, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about this ad nauseum. For him to go on the Eagles feed and put that down is just a big middle finger to the Buccaneers and their fans. And I don't know how much more this guy has to do for someone in this organization to stand up and say, this is not okay. What are we waiting for? We get Jason Light saying, we love the player. We have no intention of trading him. Well, he has no intention of playing for you, Jason Light, at $11.7 million. I got news for you. He's going to do exactly what Roquan Smith did and probably show up at camp but not work out. And eventually you're going to have to trade him. Because this type of behavior, he is letting it be known that he's not afraid to put it out in public, that he wants a trade and he doesn't want to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they're not going to pay him what he thinks he's worth. And that's fine. Trade him. Trade him. What are we waiting for? Are we getting another press conference to come out and defend him? He's trashing you at every point, and you want to keep coming out and defending him. At what point does the organization hold this guy accountable? You can't. I mean, you have one of your other team leaders, and maybe he's not talking about Devin, but maybe he is. So clearly there's a rift in the locker room with some people that are, quote, individuals. This guy is filling up the individual resume like nobody's business with the trade request, the other stuff that he's put on the Eagles, the stuff that he put out a month ago and then said, oh, no, I was just celebrating my years here. Bullspit. Bullspit. We know what's going on here. Trade him. And the opposite is to give him what he wants, an overinflated contract for an inside linebacker, and you think that's going to make him play better and be more accountable? That doesn't sound like good policy to me.
No.
If I'm the Buccaneers.
No, and if you do make him the highest paid player, what happens when in 2 years he's no longer the highest paid player at his position? And he comes back and says, no, that's not good enough.
What message are you sending to Tristan Wirfs and all the other players? That if you bitch and you moan and you go public with your contract demands that this is not good enough.
Yeah.
That we're going to reward you with a long-term contract and put a C on your chest.
And
does that?
And by the way,
does that sound like an organization that is being accountable to the other players?
And by the way, it's not like this organization has a track history or a track record of not picking up or foregoing the fifth-year option and signing the guy to the long-term contract. They did it with Mike Evans, and they did it with Vita Vea. Mm-hmm. And what do those two guys have in common?
They are team players.
They are team players, yes.
Team players.
They are two of the best of their positions.
Yes.
Pro Bowl accolades, all that kind of crap.
Worth the money.
Worth the money and consistency.
Right.
Devin White has none of those things.
None of those
He's not one of the best at his position.
None of those things.
His accolades mean squat to me, to be honest with you, because I don't know, because he got this reputation again off the Super Bowl, and then he's no consistency at all through 4 years. In fact, I can't tell you one thing he's gotten better at through 4 years, to be honest.
Put on the tape. Is he getting off blocks better?
So nobody's. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Jason Licht's not picking on Devin White. If Devin White feels that way, your tape. It is what it is. You're not worth enough for them to have to pay you before the fifth-year option. It's in the Bucs' best interest to have you play on this fifth-year option at $11.5 million or whatever it is specifically, and see what happens. And if you are the same player that you've been the last 5 years or the last 4 years,
you don't get it.
Then you can walk. And you can find somewhere else to go, and you'll probably get more than the Bucs would ever give you anyway, because your reputation is going to follow you somewhere for whatever reason. But if you turn out to be a really good player this year and you turn the corner, I still wouldn't want to give you $18 to $20 million, but maybe I can meet you in the middle somewhere.
Right.
I think that's where the Bucs' best play is, to be honest with you.
I think at this point,
if they don't trade them, if they don't trade him or find a trade partner.
At this point, I just don't see how you can welcome him back. How?
I wonder, teammates, it's all business, and I get all that, but I wonder how they feel the fact that he's a captain, and they voted him a captain. I certainly wouldn't do that again.
I'm trying to remember a time when a player has scrubbed his Instagram, put all this stuff out about how he wants to go to another team, and then has come back to that team and been a leader and a good fit moving forward. It didn't work with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray held them hostage, and then he got hurt. And everyone believes that contract is horrible, and it's never going to work out, and it's never going to be a good thing for the Cardinals. I think that's rightfully so. I'm trying. Roquan Smith did it. They had to trade him. I'm trying to think of who was, Lamar
Hasn't worked
Jackson
out
is
for
now.
it didn't work out for Rodgers.
Didn't work out for Rod. I mean, all of these things, when the bad blood gets going, Taylor reference, we're still doing it. When the bad blood gets going, I don't ever remember it going back in the right direction. Okay, we're all friends now. I got my money. Let's go play, and it all working out. Maybe I'm probably missing a couple of examples, but off the top of my head, I can't remind. This thing that he did yesterday with Philadelphia is bullspit. If this is how you think you're going to get your money, and here's the other thing, he requested a trade, and I'm guessing that he requested a trade probably a month ago. It's been that way. So I would guess that everybody in the NFL knows that Devin White is available. And are the phones ringing off the hook? Are the people running to the Buccaneers with a first or second round pick? Because I think if they were, that trade would be done. I think that trade would be done. Maybe not by Todd Bowles, but certainly by Jason Light. So maybe, and my guess is he doesn't have that value. My guess is that other people can turn on the tape as well.
I'm hoping people are
defensive
starting to turn on the
coordinators
tape.
are looking and going, make some splash
Well, I take
plays.
that back. I don't want them to turn on the tape for the Bucs' interest. Please don't turn on the tape.
I'd rather, I would, I said this last week. I'll take a 2 and a 5 that they got for Roquan right now.
And ultimately, I think that's generous.
Yeah,
because
and
I think Roquan is a far superior player.
I agree, and it's not one of those high need positions or high leverage positions.
No, even though there has been a long time since we've had good inside linebacker drafts.
Right.
So that kind of has to play a role in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's one guy, Jack Campbell from Iowa, that people are, and who knows how good he can be or what he is.
Still
right?
a day 2 pick.
Right, still a day 2 pick. But it just, to me, he is pushing this.
And
he doesn't care. He wants out. He thinks he's worth the money. He thinks he's going to get it. And I think he's going to find himself in Lamar Jackson
I think
territory.
all he's doing right now by continuing to go on social media, which I just think as an athlete is just get off.
It's immature.
Just get off
It's
social
immature.
media. He's just showing his ass because he's got no leverage. He's not helping himself at all by doing it. He's just showing his ass to everybody.
The only leverage he has, and I think it is significant in some way, is the fact that the Bucs have nobody to back him up. Nobody. There's no Kevin Minter in the wings.
And I think
that you can
maybe
plug in
that's
and
what's
go,
holding back.
okay.
And maybe that's what's holding them back ultimately from making a move because Levante's also 33 years old,
Right.
and this is probably his last year. So now it's like you kind of almost have to fill 2 needs.
Yeah,
at
we're
one
one
position.
injury away from having KJ Britt and
Yes.
who's the other guy? I forgot his name. That's a disaster. Your
That's
defense, your defense can't survive that. And so I get it. I mean, and Devin, rightfully so, is like they got nobody behind me. So if I'm ever going to have leverage, this is the way I can do it. But sometimes, and we're going to get into this concept of culture for the Buccaneers. Sometimes you have to make a move that is culture oriented, but maybe doesn't really look good in terms of your depth chart. Mm-hmm. It's just you got to cut the cancer out to make sure it doesn't fester. And I think to some degree that has already happened on this team because Todd Bowles came out and said it. The culture is not good. We have to change the culture. And that was with Brady on the team.
Yeah.
That was last year. We all thought, Tom Brady's going to leave a legacy of this incredible culture of, being uber prepared and ultra prepared. And that didn't even last his last year. It didn't even. I totally was wrong about that. I thought, this is going to be great. He'll transform this organization. It didn't even last his career here. It totally broke down last year, which is,
to me, says a lot about the players that are around.
yeah.
I think it doesn't speak to Tom, in my opinion. It speaks to the players that are around.
Well, here's the thing, as we always go back to, that wasn't Tom Brady last year. And
No.
we all said it was his 3rd year, but that was no semblance of the man and the leader that had been the hallmark of his career, right? We said this many, many times, his superpower as a football player was his uber preparation and mental ability to absolutely destroy you and know what was coming before you knew what was coming. And that has always been, and of course, a great arm and great velocity. That was the athletic part that he was tremendous at. And I don't think that waned. I think it did wane last year, actually. His accuracy and his velocity were not as good because he lost 15 pounds. He wasn't the same guy. He wasn't. And you could see that from the very beginning. And from a preparation standpoint, we didn't get that guy either. And what happened when everybody looked up and said, whoa, Tom's not here for 11 days? Tom's at the birthday party the night before the game and not coming back? Tom's missing this day? Suddenly, there goes that superpower. And you don't think other players were pissed about Tom doesn't want to be here? He wants to be in Miami, so much so they docked him a first-round pick. You don't think these other players knew about that and considered it and said, well, if he's going for his own, well, then I'm going for my own, Devin White. I mean, Devin looks at that and says, well, if Tom Brady can do this, why can't I? I mean, he's not respecting the team culture by taking all this time off. And I understand the things that were going on with him. I get it. But the bottom line is you're not there with this team. You know, I'm sure a lot of guys had a lot of stuff going on last year. Deaths in the family, we know of that. All these other things. But Tom was the one who took all that time away. So it wasn't the same Tom Brady. That's why the culture fractured last year. And that's why they need to regain that culture now. And by, you know, putting a pacifier in the mouth of your defensive captain and giving him all he wants because he's crying the loudest, that's a culture destroyer. You can't do that. And for the organization to just keep coming to the podium and defending this guy, at some point it's like, you know, somebody's going to stand up and say something, and I think somebody just did. And that somebody's Tristan Wirfs. So, you know, he's the guy that guys need to follow, not Devin White. I think we're clear on that, right?
Oh yeah.
So if your other captain is standing up at the podium and saying that, and we know who he's talking about, and your head coach and your general manager are coming to the podium and defending this guy, we got a fracture. And, you know, for my money, the Bucs need to take care of this. They need to take care of it. But my guess is, you know, they're probably being offered a third-round pick for him at this point. And, you know, do you try to make him play and get through to him and say, hey, just go out and ball out and get your money? Or do you just cut bait now and get the third rounder now that you're going to get when he goes and signs with somebody else next year as a compensatory pick?
I mean, I don't have a problem necessarily with him coming back as long as he does the right things in coming back, and that's apologizing to Todd Bowles, apologizing to his teammates. I probably wouldn't put the captaincy back on his chest at least for a year. If he wants to come back and do that, that's fine.
He won't. He's too prideful.
And that's the question here, because he's not the first player to go and do stuff like this.
No.
I mean, we're seeing it. We're kind of seeing it right now with Budda Baker in Arizona. If you've been paying attention, he's upset because he's not the highest paid safety in the league.
Lamar Jackson.
2 years ago, he became the highest paid safety in the league. Now he's no longer the highest paid safety, and he wants his money. And he's been doing the same thing on Twitter with these cryptic tweets. So this happens all the time.
You know why he's doing it? Because his quarterback did it.
And and he's been very critical, by the way, of that culture. Yeah. And wanting out.
Yeah. So, you know, you're doing the same damn thing. So listen, this to me is a line in the sand, and you know, you can say all you want, but Wirfs just called him out. And you know, he ain't the only one talking about it.
I wonder what else.
I can tell you that.
And I wonder who else he's talking about, because he said individuals.
Yeah.
You know, and there's multiple there, and you know, the guys that I think about are Devin White. I thought of Leonard Fournette, who's no longer here. Right. And even when he went out, there was the whole weird thing about him saying that it was mutual, and the Bucs said no, we cut him.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. And he already had his issues here before.
Right.
You know, you think about Antonio Brown, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of did that for himself, taking him out of the equation. Which I asked the question, by the way. Do you think Todd Bowles would have completely gone through with what happened with Antonio Brown if that happened under his watch and not BA's?
Do you think he would have thrown him off the sideline like BA did?
Yeah. I'm going all in right now because because again, a lot of this stuff that we're talking about has coincided with Todd Bowles taking over as well, and the difference there and the parallels. So I'm just putting it out there. Do you think he makes that move?
And Brady was mad at BA for doing it. He was.
The Bucs are a fascinating story the past 2 years.
Brady was mad at BA for doing what he had to do. Because you remember, on that Thursday, after the AB situation, I don't know. It may have been me that asked the question, or somebody asked the question, and he basically was. I gave him the opportunity to defend BA, and he didn't do it. And I called it out at that time. I said, "How do you support Tony when you know damn well that he's lying? He's lying. It was not about his ankle, and then you just don't support your head coach at all." In that situation, you support the petulant child that disrobed on the sideline. That's the one you as opposed, and then you say the coach runs a loose ship. Well, you're the one that fostered this BS, Tom Brady. So I mean, yeah, I think as we said it last year from game 4 or 5. It was after Brady didn't come back for the birthday party, for Kraft's birthday party.
The Steelers game.
And I said, this is dysfunction junction. This whole effing team is dysfunctional. It's cracked. It's fractured. And I'm telling you, the books, the Tom Brady exposés, when the BA tell-all, when it all comes out, that's what you're going to see. The last year with Brady here was a shit show. It was a complete shit show.
Oh, well, hold on.
From the moment that BA stepped aside. Well, actually, from the moment that Brady was tampering with the Dolphins.
It happened before
during
all
their
that.
playoff run.
It happened all before that. Remember, what was Levante David's comment after the 2021 season? If you recall.
What did he say?
Remember, I think he might have used the word dysfunction.
He did
in a press conference at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, it was getting there because that was at the end when Brady was tampering.
Yeah, so this stuff almost seemed like it might have happened towards the end of the 2021 season, and ultimately it's a shame because look at the veterans that have been in the building the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond Brady, Gronk, Jensen, Mike Evans is a veteran now.
Well, when
like JPP, Sue, all these veterans. How does this happen to a locker room like that?
Well, it's funny because if you it's like going back to the origin. Was it the lab leak or was it the pangolin who spit in the chili?
You got to go back to go forward.
Yeah, you got to go back. And what was the line of demarcation? It wasn't actually Brady tampering. It was AB, the AB episode. And we also know before the AB episode, he was already acting out in the locker room, in other games, and at that halftime.
Mm-hmm.
He was already showing his ass. It was already the fake COVID card thing had happened, right?
Yep.
And so, and so you just think about all this stuff that we know, and we know this: BA never wanted AB. He told me to my face multiple times that guy will never play for the Buccaneers. Never play for the Buccaneers because he was there. He saw what AB was doing, right? He knew AB's past. He knew who he was, and he knew eventually it would fracture the team. But Brady was like, I got to have that guy because I don't elevate everybody like I used to. I need guys that can win individually, and I need a bunch of them so I can do my thing.
That's how the scheme was directed.
That's how the scheme is. So he knew it was like this. It was like this pull. It's like, AB's eventually going to fracture this team, but we got to have his ability.
And it worked out. You got what you needed on the upside of it.
It did. And then, moving forward, AB starts being AB again, and there's Tom Brady supporting him, saying, we got to have him. Come on, BA, just put up with it. We got to have him. Let's get through the season. And then, the thing happened in I got to get the ball when you've already used as many targets as anybody in the first half. And BA's listening to him bitch and moan. And then he goes on the sideline like, you need to go back in the game. Oh, I'm not going in the game. BA just, at some point, he's just going to say, enough, get the F
And
out
even
of here.
still, though, without having him on the roster this year, it hurt the team.
Yes,
on the field.
Of course.
On the field, it hurt the team tremendously this year not having Antonio Brown.
It's you're damned if you do, damned if
exactly.
you don't, almost. But to me,
and it's crazy. The crazy part to me is for the last 3 years we've been like almost living in the moment, right? Because we've never experienced this in this market, really, truly,
right.
This special time. At least in my generation of being a fan.
Right.
And so we wanted to enjoy it and live in the moment. But now that it's gone and it's over with and it's a new chapter, it's like you go back and look at all these things that were right in front of us the entire time.
Yep.
And we probably just skipped right over and hopped all over because we were enjoying the ride.
I think we did a good job, especially last year, of pointing out all the shit that was going on. I think we did a really good job.
Because when things go wrong, it's easier to point back to
Because I
these
think
things.
I think the majority opinion was, oh, everything's fine. We got Brady. It'll work out. This will be fun. Brady is this. Brady is that. Brady is, and I'm like, no, this is not the regular Brady. This is not him. This is not what we signed up for. And it's dysfunction everywhere. And that's exactly what it was. So I kind of, as hard as I've been on Todd Bowles, when I look, but again, you asked the question, would Bowles have thrown him off the sideline? Probably not. And then you ask yourself, would they have continued to win with him? Would that eventually have happened anyway? At some point, would he have taken off? Probably. Because here's when you have a child like that, what happens if you keep saying, "Okay, honey, here's the pacifier, here's the pass. What more do you need? Some of this." They just keep demanding more and more and more, and you're still going to get the temper tantrum at the end anyway.
Well,
so what do you have to do? You have to smack that ass. You have to put your foot down and say, "That's it. No more of this crap." And that's what BA did. And you have to say to yourself, you know what? Is it worth fracturing the team to keep this guy on? It's sometimes, in my opinion, you got to get rid of it, and hopefully you can go find somebody to replace that or find a way to win. There's no guarantees, but I think the only guarantee is when you keep people like that around, eventually they're going to destroy your chemistry, your culture.
You know what Antonio Brown reminds me of, and you let me know if this is a good comparison or not, because you were around for this. Doesn't he remind you of Keyshawn Johnson to an extent?
It's exactly what Keyshawn did.
It's the same thing, though.
The year after the Super
Bowl. Tell me
Bowl.
that Gruden and Bruce don't have kind of the same type of coaching personality.
Same thing.
And the high is he helps you win a Super Bowl,
right.
leading receiver that year in 2002.
Right.
And then the next year he lasted, 7 games, 9 games, and he was out.
And it was like, he bitched about Gruden. And look, I'm not saying what he said wasn't true, but everybody else put up with it, and maybe Keyshawn was right. Like, I'm not putting up with it. But I think that's what's different. I think Bruce Arians is a fair, honest man in his coaching style. I think he's fair and honest and looks you in the eye and tells you what's going on and doesn't BS around. I'm not sure Gruden was Gruden would tell one guy one thing and so there was a mistrust factor there.
I will point out this too,
but it is similar. Yes.
I will point out this too, though, because I don't think this whole thing is exclusive to the Bucs only. And Tristan even said that oftentimes this happens to teams.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so many examples that I just had at the top of my head. Like the Lakers, when they won 5 titles, they just went a whole decade without making a playoff run. Right? And they were junction.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Lakers, for crying out loud, not the Bucs.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, all the examples that I had just leap through my brain, of course. But the point is this happens to the Patriots. There you go. Now the Patriots are starting to have dysfunction for the first time. Bill doesn't like Mac. Mac doesn't like Bill. Right? When does that stuff ever happen in New England? Never. But trying to replace the greatest of all time has created this now. So this is not just a Bucs thing. This happens typically to teams that win a lot. And then, like, Seattle had been through the same thing when they went out, and it resulted in Russell Wilson having to go and restarting a culture. Like, this happens everywhere. But it still doesn't make it any better, though.
I look at Carson Wentz in Philadelphia.
It's a good one.
And he was a good player and was, on his way to MVP season, all that stuff. But there was always a disconnect between Carson and the team. There was always a disconnect. And now we see throughout his career, everywhere he goes, there's a disconnect. Okay? And when you keep guys around like that, so what did Doug Peterson do? He basically said, you know what? I can see that these guys play better with Nick Foles. Carson's a better talent. But these guys rally around this guy, Nick Foles.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
And we are a better team, collectively, culture-wise, with Nick Foles as our quarterback than Carson Wentz. And I think, you have to make those tough calls sometimes. They don't always work. But getting rid of BA was a must. AB was a must. Yeah, you can't let that stuff go on. You can't have one guy just telling the coaches what he's going to do and when, because then everybody sees it and it's like, well, F, he's doing it, I'm going to do it as well. You can't have that. And I think that's what went on last year with Todd Bowles. Too many people, Devin White, would do whatever the hell they want, as Tristan Wirfs says, individualistic, and Todd was calling it out. But what Todd called it out. Remember when he said we still got guys living off the Super Bowl, right? That's another direct quote at Devin White. But then he comes out and defends him to the hilt.
Yeah.
You can't do both. You can't do both. So, and I think that's been one of the problems that Todd has had as a head coach. And if I sense anything different in this offseason that I'm excited about, I just listening to his interviews and the way he's comporting himself, it seems like he's more assertive. And like, listen, if I'm effing going down, it's going to be my way. Mm-hmm. It's going to be my way, and I'm going to make the decisions. I should have fired the offensive coordinator because he wasn't listening to me. Dysfunction. He knows that now. I think in his private moment he would admit that. But I'm rooting for him. This is the new Todd Bowles, the take no crap Todd Bowles. Let's go. And this is your first test, Todd. Get him the hell out of here. I know you love him like a son. And you talk to people who know Devin White and know Todd Bowles, and he loves him like a son. But your son is spitting in your face. What do you do when your son talks back to you, Todd Bowles? Not that your kids have ever done that because they've been raised right. But when they do, what do? You got to smack that ass. you got to come down hard. You got to come down hard. You can't put up with it. Out. He's gone. Get rid of him. It's bad for culture. And let him go find his $20 million pot of gold somewhere. And I hope he gets it. Good for you, Devin. If that's the way you want to play your fine, good. I think it's bad for your team. I think it's bad leadership. I think you should, play through your contract and go out and play your ass off. And if you have a Pro Bowl season, you're going to get $20 million from somebody, maybe. But if not, but he probably knows in his heart that, as the scrutiny gets more, he'll be exposed. So he's trying to force his way out and get his money. Good luck. All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back and we'll get into some more. We got to hear from Kyle Trask about what he learned from Brady and some other things from him. We'll talk some Rays baseball as well, another disappointing game for them. And we'll get into the latest from the Bolts as they are they're already in Toronto and getting ready for game 1 tonight. Back in 3. Stay with us. Guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Folks, there is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. They'll make it a fun experience. People come from all over to shop at the Gold and Diamond Source because of their great customer service and incredible, impeccable reputation. No sales pressure, no intimidation, and they have the largest selection of hand-picked diamonds. And by the way, diamonds are the April birthstone. So this month only, they are offering 15% off their diamond birthstone collection of available on just select products. And you probably heard a lot about lab-created diamonds, folks. They hold no real value. You will have no resale value whatsoever with a lab-created diamond. And, of course, it's fake. It doesn't mean as much. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, folks. Interest-free financing up to 5 years, a layaway program, 20% down, and only 6 monthly payments. And, of course, the Diamond Savings Account where you get full value of your diamond when you look to upgrade. It's all there for you at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Homerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. If you've been involved in an accident or have issues on the job or any legal matter whatsoever, it's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com. You can contact them through the website, by email or by phone. And just know this, that they are a local law firm that will give you the personal attention that you deserve. Some of these bigger law firms, I went through this, folks, with an accident probably 10 years ago, and getting calls back from these big companies, and I don't think I got the settlement that I should have gotten, because that's what these bigger firms do. They just settle. They don't go to court. And not all the time, but a lot of the time. So you want that personal attention, that local law firm, and that is the Jeeves Law Group. So go to their website, JeevesLawGroup.com, and check out all the information right there. All right, so we talked a little Bucs. We'll get back to some Kyle Trask a little bit later on, and I'm going to get some of your comments in here as well to that conversation. Then we'll move on to the Buccaneers.
To the Rays, you mean? To
the Rays, yeah. Bucks Live says Todd Bowles can't call out Devin White publicly because it destroys his trade value. Yeah, that's true. That's true, especially at this particular point where he's demanded a trade. But I'm speaking more about last year, and even to some degree just after the season when we talked about some of his issues before all this Instagram scrubbing stuff started. So I get what you're saying there. And at this particular point, I think that would apply more towards Jason Light recently when asked about it. I think at this point, Jason does have to, talk him up and keep his trade value up. I totally agree with you. No question about that. But at this point, with this last little tweet on the Eagles feed about, they take care of their own, at some point, it's just, it's diminishing returns. So, sorry. Another one coming in here from Richie P. JP, what do you get from Tampa Bay Arnold regarding the stadium issue? Looks like there are conversations being had in such a way that it keeps the public in the dark. Yeah, I'm going to get to this after we chat with Pat Burnham at 11:15, the stadium situation. So we'll do that at 11:30. I think there are some nuggets in there that they tell me the same thing, to be honest, is, same thing we said right after the Sister City thing, that we predicted it then, and it's coming true now, that Stu's going to cozy up to St. Pete and try to look like he's going to do the deal in St. Petersburg like he's done many times before. And then in the end, I think he's still going to pick Tampa because that's where MLB wants it, and that's where they would have the most long-term success. Short term, I think he would make a better deal for himself and only himself if he did the deal in St. Pete, which is why smarter people and politicians and government people need to understand that you're getting hoodwinked into building a billion-dollar stadium for a billionaire who's just going to leave you with a stadium that nobody goes to in the middle of the week, which is hard to do. It's a failed location. So, we'll get into that a little bit more later on in the show. Any other comments you saw in here, Nick, that we need to throw up about the Bucs situation?
Yeah, T. Knowles had put this one here. I said, I think you keep him in a way better cap situation next year to go after a veteran/free agent linebacker and draft one this year and next. But backup linebacker is definitely a concern, same as outside linebacker. And like you said, that's the leverage. If Devin White has any, that's the card that he can pull is, do you want me or do you want KJ Britt?
Yeah. Or you could, you can draft somebody this year. If you can get a two, you can get somebody that can play in the middle there and not embarrass you.
I guess it will say this, I don't know if the Bucs were planning on taking probably at some point in this draft they were planning on taking a linebacker because they need depth. But I was thinking more in the 5th or 6th round.
Right.
I would hate for them to have to now all of a sudden get one in the 2nd round, because I think that might be having to force a player that high that probably isn't worth it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's other positions of need that are a lot more important I needed them to get with those higher picks.
I don't think he's going to play for you this year.
I don't know. I think
he's going to be. I think it's going to be a Roquan situation where he's not going to participate in training camp, and it's going to be a huge distraction.
Well, we don't even know if he was. I'm assuming he was not there yesterday, but.
And then is his heart going to be in really playing for this team this year?
I don't question.
We question his heart where his commitment the last couple of years in terms of consistency and busting your ass on the field. Well, you think he's going to, suddenly get 10 times better?
Well,
I guess
I've
in a contract year he'd want to put his best stuff out there, but
I've
I don't know.
said this before. I think Devin loves football, and he wants to be out there, truthfully. I don't think he wants to come off the field. I think he wants to be out there every play. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a real thing, and if this makes sense, sometimes you cannot be giving it your all, but you don't know it yourself.
Right.
But everybody else can see it. I feel like that's where Devin White falls into sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he understands that he's not going full speed sometimes, or at least he's not doing this right and all that. But we could see it, and I think that's where he falls into. So I don't know if it's a lack of effort, knowingly from Devin White necessarily.
Yeah, as Bucks Live put it, and quite succinctly, the Super Bowl is the upside to the Brady circus. This is the downside. Yep, we knew it was coming. It was just in a little different form.
But we've been saying though, I don't think it's a crazy downturn this year.
Yeah,
as everybody's predicting.
Yeah. All right, so let's zip over to the Rays and another disappointing performance yesterday, and I think we're starting to see how this pitching staff being crushed by these injuries is starting to hurt this team. I don't think there's any question. And the bats didn't really do much last night against Hunter Green either.
I tell you what. Well, he was barely out there, but he looked sharp against the Rays for the 4 innings. But that was the most depressing game I think I've seen all year.
Yeah, it was. It
When
had,
you-
it had a lot of last year in it.
When you combine, no, not just the Rays, I just mean everything. When you combine the lack of a crowd in Cincinnati last night,
Yeah.
they said 7,000. I think that's generous.
Yes.
No atmosphere. It looked like one of those like super like windy and cold nights in
Yeah.
Cincinnati
Yeah.
that like nobody wanted to go to the game. I don't even think the players really. The Rays just looked they weren't up for that game. I'm not making excuses or anything, but I'm just being honest. I don't think they were up for that game at all.
No.
In the different atmosphere, and like you said, when you have to go in there with Beeks and Kevin Kelly rather, who looked good
Yep.
in his other outings, but yesterday he had zero command. That
Yep.
slider, he couldn't buy a strike with that slider at all.
Yep.
And then the new kid Criswell comes in, not much better either.
Nope.
So, but again, if that's what we're down to, where you have to go to a game where you're giving the ball to Beeks, Kevin Kelly, and Cooper Criswell.
It's not the same
I don't
team
know
that
how many
went
games.
13-0.
I don't know how many games you're going to win there.
No, you're not.
And also combine the fact that's a house of horrors for the Rays. They've lost 5 in a row dating back to 2014.
To the Bach walk-off that they reminded
Oh,
of
the
that last
Bach
night. I'm like, I've forgotten about that. I was like, that's the worst
I know. I was
thing
like,
ever.
did I need to be reminded of that?
That was so bad. What a terrible umpire call that was. Oh, just absolutely awful on so many levels. Yeah, and listen, it's funny because we've gone from 13-0 to World Series to suddenly going, oh shiz. Like, I want to say the team's in trouble.
I'm not saying oh shit like anything like that. It's just
I am.
they're gonna have to win games a completely different way than they're used to doing it. I think right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem, and it's good that they've got 6 more games. They've got 2 more games with the Reds, although
I don't know how much that means something at the moment.
Really?
And by the way, today the Reds got their ace going, Nick Lodolo, who's
Yeah.
really good and tough from the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So it's a tough matchup for the Rays.
Yeah, so suddenly, they could be out of first place in a week because their pitching staff is devastated. Isn't that funny how this thing can turn so
Well,
quickly?
we said what was going to stop the Rays was
Yeah.
going to be injuries, like
Right.
it did last year.
That's what we were saying. Pump the brakes last
But
week,
it's-
folks. Pump the
But
brakes.
at least it's good they got out. They got a 13-game stretch out in front of everything, though.
Yeah, they did. So that's good. You're plus 13, and
Yeah.
you only need to play 500 ball the rest of the way to get into the
And
playoffs.
the other thing, too, last night that jumped out to me, 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
Yep.
They came into last night the best team in the league, hitting 346 with runners in scoring position. And then you go 0 for 10 last night. They loaded the bases twice. They got runners on first and second with with no outs or 1 out a few times in that game as well. Could not get the big hit. Also, you got to give it up to Cincinnati's defense.
Yeah.
The plays they made, especially
some
the
good
one in
plays.
the outfield where Margot thought he was going to bloop that in there, and Fraley makes that diving catch.
That was big.
I mean, that was huge. That right there was the game.
Yeah, and it just takes little things like that's why 13-0 is so hard to do, folks, because other teams can do this to you every single night, and it just doesn't go your way.
Yeah, and then Wander, I mean, uncharacteristically just boots a ground ball, and I
Yeah.
believe that continued an inning for a while.
Yep, it did. Yeah, so they just look. It's not going to be all rainbows and unicorns, folks. It's going to be a slog of a season, and they're already getting into it. But is Taj Bradley pitching tonight?
We got Taj Bradley tonight.
Yeah, Taj. So it gives you. I'll be interested to see how he pitches. This will be a little bit more of a test on the road. Now it's they've got some film on you, but his stuff plays anywhere, so I'm not too worried. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the Bolts. 11:15, we'll talk to Pat Burnham from the Osceola about the FSU spring game and where the Seminoles stand. Boy, a lot of pundits picking them to win the ACC and maybe be in the hunt for the playoff. Unbelievable. If you're a Noles fan, it wasn't too long ago we were losing to Jacksonville State. So we'll talk with Pat at 11:15. Some Bolts talk coming up next. Stay with us. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation. Home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Folks, there is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. They'll make it a fun experience. People come from all over to shop at the Gold and Diamond Source because of their great customer service and incredible, impeccable reputation. No sales pressure, no intimidation, and they have the largest selection of hand-picked diamonds. And by the way, diamonds are the April birthstone. So this month only, they are offering 15% off their diamond birthstone collection, available on just select products. And you've probably heard a lot about lab-created diamonds, folks. They hold no real value. You will have no resale value whatsoever with a lab-created diamond. And of course, it's fake. It doesn't mean as much. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, folks. Interest-free financing up to 5 years, a layaway program, 20% down, and only 6 monthly payments. And, of course, the Diamond Savings Account, where you get full value of your diamond when you look to upgrade. It's all there for you at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Homerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to jeeveslawgroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season, where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you, so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo and his team over there will get you right with the True Body machine and system. Of course, you're looking to lose some weight. They've got great programs over there and some discounts going on right now. Go to the website, BAMMC.com, and find out what's going on over there and sign up, get an appointment with Chris, and they will take care of you in every way, make you healthier, lose weight, testosterone replacement therapy, get your nutrition in order. You eat better, you will feel so much better. It's all there for you. It's a total body maintenance at BAMMC.com. So check them out, Bay Area Modern Medical Center.com. All right, so tonight at 7:30, they will drop the puck on Bally Sports. By the way, there will be a pregame show with all the lads, Paul Kennedy and the Chief and Dave Andrechuk, and everybody will be on board. So the first round we get Bally's, which is great. Dave Randorf, Brian Engblom, the whole crew, Paul Kennedy. It'll be great. So at least for the first round. So we'll see that tonight starting at 7:30, and obviously so many of these storylines abound. Will the Bolts go 11-7 tonight? I think there's a very good chance of that with the fact that Tanner Jeannot is not playing in Game 1 but may play in Game 2 or Game 3. We don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what Coop does tonight.
I certainly would.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to see Maroon, Belmar, and Perry out there together. I can't do it.
It's just that line will just, when they talk about the school bus line, it's the schooled bus line. Like I think Perry was minus 28.
Yeah, he's 20. We said that yesterday. He was 28, minus 28 this year.
Wow.
One of the worst, I think,
the worst
of any player that's in the playoffs, I believe.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
So we will, we'll see what adjustments are made tonight. But Ed Encina wrote a great piece in the Times today about Vasilevsky and some of the numbers. And they just confirm what we've known. This is his lowest rankings in wins, goals against, and save percentage since this whole thing started. Now, is that all on him? Hell no. A lot of it is about the different D pairs that they put in front of him. Maybe the lack of defensive intensity in some of our lines as well. It's not just on the defensemen. Everybody's got to be better in the playoffs, and they know that, and they know how to do it. That's why, that little stretch when they had the 5-game losing streak, and then they came back and won the 2 games on the road against the Devils. They played well against Boston up there, held them to 2 goals and fluky goals at that. Then they held, I think, the Devils to 1 or 2 goals in those games, and they kind of solidified their playoff seeding. And then, Vasi kind of took the rest of the year off. And that's fine. That's what I wanted to see. And I think that's the team we're going to see in this series against Toronto. And I think the fact that everybody's picking Toronto helps the Lightning as well. I just like a lot of what's happening going into this game. And I'm not too worried about the 11-14-5 record that they have since February because –
or the road record.
I'm not worried about any of it. I just feel like this team knows how to flip the switch, and they'll do it. I'm not saying that that's going to make them win the cup. It's not what I'm saying.
Just to get out of round 1.
But I think, round 1, is, as many of the players will tell you, is the toughest round to win. And, with this particular matchup, we saw that last year.
See, that's the thing. Because I think from a talent standpoint, I think Toronto is every bit close to the team that Boston is.
Yeah.
From a talent standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I can make the argument, honestly, that Toronto has more talent than Boston, actually, top to bottom.
Yeah.
At least offensively. I could probably make that argument.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of differences there with Toronto and Boston. From obviously, in net is the biggest one, and defensively. Yeah. So that's the thing. I think Toronto this year, to me, has felt a little bit different. And we've already heard some good things, or I shouldn't phrase it like that, but good things if you're a Toronto fan, that these players have grown used to like all this pressure, and this year they've had a different attitude towards the media and demeanor where they're kind of shutting it all out. Yeah. Right? And putting it all in the back of their head. So there's a lot of signs there that tell me that this could be Toronto's year, at least to get out of the first round and get that second round matchup with Boston.
It's certainly something the league probably would want to see.
The league's dying for it.
The league would die for it to get the ratings, those Maple Leaf ratings. All right, let's listen to John Cooper yesterday after practice here at Amalie Arena.
Sign out there with Tanner back on the ice.
Yeah, really. I mean, we were anticipating this was going to happen. I'm going to whack all these microphones. Sorry, at some point, but definitely not this early. So it's we'll see what happens here. He's definitely not going in game 1, but what went from week to week is definitely looks like it's been trimmed down to day to day.
Any kind of special treatment he's been getting to kind of accelerate this a little bit?
It's called Western Canadian genes, I think.
Maybe some stem cells?
We talk a lot about, the phrase comes up about flipping the switch, quote unquote, but how much of that is getting to an emotional level that you need to be at when the postseason begins?
Well, it's paramount. You can't. The game's played with emotion, and this group has shown over the years that they can get to a level you need to be to win.
That's it.
So, it's the most exciting days of the year. It's opening night in the regular season and opening night of the playoffs. They're just, it's like everything's new and everything's back to even Steven, and you go play. But really good energy on the ice, so hopefully I know that'll carry over to tomorrow.
John, what can you do in a room where you get a guy back that maybe you didn't think that you were going to get back as quickly, especially at this time?
Well, you want to have your full arsenal, and but he's a really well-liked teammate, and I mean they all are. But he's he's gone through a lot here with the trade and the change, and then he has a really nasty injury, and so guys are pretty pumped to see him on the ice.
John, for so many years you guys have been the hunted. You kind of go into this as maybe the hunters this year. Is that extra motivation to the guys that have been to the finals 3 straight years and not maybe getting the respect they have in the past?
I don't know. We've represented the Eastern Conference for 3 straight years, and we plan on doing it a 4th. We have some different players and got to do it different ways, but there's a core group there that wants to keep this train rolling, and so the problem, the Leafs are going to be a problem, and they're a heck of a team, 2 teams that know each other well, and I would expect a heck of a series, especially with the star power that both teams produce. So they're to be the best, you got to beat some of the best teams in the league, and the Leafs are one of them, and so we're going to accept this challenge and give them everything we have. But like I said, this group is till somebody gets us. Like we're the team that wants to be on top, and we're going to do everything we can to stay on top.
If you look at the numbers the Leafs have this year defensively, they're obviously improved, at least numbers-wise. What do you see differently in how they approach the game?
I don't know, like the Leafs, to me, they just keep making positive strides like every year, and they went from they're a dynamic offensive team with dynamic players, but they've really grown into like a bit of a defensive juggernaut as well, and so that's kind of a recipe you need to win in this league. And it's like I said, you get some playoff series here that it's a shame when you get to this, one team's going to be out, but it seems to happen every year where you've got some of these marquee matchups that hopefully you'd see down the line, but with only 8 teams in the conference making the playoffs, a lot of these matchups happen in the first round. So, but they're good for hockey and they're a lot of fun.
There's John Cooper. Look, and I think he said what we've been talking about is that this group knows what it takes to get the intensity level to that level, that playoff level, and that's not going to be seen in the regular season for the most part. So it's a whole new season. Good luck. Let's see what kind of team we got in the playoffs. All right, quick break. When we come back, Patrick Burnham's going to join us from the Osceola. We're going to talk some Florida State football as they just had their spring game. And the Seminoles are top 6, top 7 preseason, maybe heading to the college football playoff. We shall see. Quick break. Back with Pat Burnham from the Osceola next. Stay with us. Folks, there is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. They'll make it a fun experience. People come from all over to shop at the Gold and Diamond Source because of their great customer service and incredible, impeccable reputation. No sales pressure, no intimidation, and they have the largest selection of hand-picked diamonds. And by the way, diamonds are the April birthstone. So this month only, they are offering 15% off their diamond birthstone collection, available on select products. And you probably heard a lot about lab-created diamonds, folks. They hold no real value. You will have no resale value whatsoever with a lab-created diamond. And of course, it's fake. It doesn't mean as much. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, folks. Interest-free financing up to 5 years, a layaway program, 20% down, and only 6 monthly payments. And, of course, the Diamond Savings Account, where you get full value of your diamond when you look to upgrade. It's all there for you at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Homerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source. April birthstone is the diamond, so they've got 50% off diamond jewelry over there, certain diamond jewelry. So if you're in the market for some earrings or some other bling, Golden Diamond Source, always the place to go. 3800 Overton Road, always online at goldendiamondsource.com. All right, patiently waiting in the wings, our good friend Pat Burnham from the Osceola, recruiting analyst, and so much more. Been watching all the practices up in Tallahassee. Patrick, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, guys. It's been a long time. Nice to see you.
Good to have you on again, man, because it's everybody's talking about the Seminoles, number 6 in some preseason polls. Those are very important this time of year, no question. But look, it's hard to deny the momentum that's going on at Florida State right now. And we'll start with a little recruiting news. Landon Thomas, as you guys reported yesterday, has flipped from Georgia to Florida State, the number 1 ranked tight end in the 2024 class. What can you tell me about this cat?
Well, listen, the writing was kind of on the wall on Saturday. He was in Tallahassee while he was still committed to Georgia for FSU spring game while Georgia was having its spring game. So, and he'd been on campus 10 days prior, actually a little bit less than 10 days prior to that. We tried to talk to him after that particular visit. He was not wanting to talk to the press, which kind of lets you know something was going on. We probably try to talk to these kids too much on these visits. But anyway, long story short, the writing was on the wall, but listen, unbelievable player, long, athletic. When you look at his film, you understand why he's the number 1 tight end prospect in America. Listen, this has a chance to, as you said, momentum on the recruiting trail. They're now ranked number 5 by the Rivals rankings for the 2024 class. And this is the kind of kid that will maybe have another kid that's deciding between Florida State and another program kind of say, hey, I want to be a part of that. And we've seen some tweets from other prospects that are on Florida State's radar talking about what a good class this is turning out to be. But you watch his film. Listen, he's got above average speed for a tight end. He's got really good hands. He does a great job of settling into zone coverages and giving his quarterback a nice hole to throw to. And listen, he's willing to block. You don't see a lot of that on his highlight tape, but he's certainly willing to block both as a unit tight end. They use him as an H-back. They lead with him that way. And, listen, it's kind of he's similar. I don't know if you guys know who Alan Lazard is, but he kind of reminds me of a big he's not quite as tall as Alan. Alan was 6'5" coming out of high school, about 205. Landon is 6'4", 220. But he looks like he's a little bit bigger version of Alan Lazard from a weight standpoint and maybe a little bit more athletic. Now, Allen was a bigger receiver coming out of high school, but as I started going back in my mind about who I've seen coming out of high school that it reminds me of, I went back and watched Allen's film today. This kid's just probably a little bit more physical than Allen, and has obviously the groom to grow into a major college football tight end. But yeah, listen, big news for Florida State on the recruiting front, and they're in play with some, even they got a kid out of running back out of Phoenix, Arizona there, Christian Clark, one of the top 5 running backs in the nation. He's the cousin or nephew of Kenny Felder. He's been on campus, and the quality of kid that they are getting on campus repetitively is much improved from when Mike took over. There's no doubt about that. And we've always said that winning is the biggest tool a college football program has in its toolbox. It's not the alternative uniforms and the buildings and all of those things. Those are nice when you have them. But and you certainly see what 10 wins has done for Mike Norvell. And listen, I think we've been out at Florida State. They've had recruits at every practice. They've had 3 unofficial visit weekends on Saturdays. They did 3 junior days in January. All these kids come out raving about the family atmosphere that Mike has created with this program, and the what they've done from 1 year ago about the quality of players they're getting on campus has been spectacular. And listen, it's not every day that you beat the reigning national champion for a player in their own state. So I think you got to give Mike and his staff a lot of props for getting that kid flipped. And the kid had talked about after he flipped about Mike's persistence. And of course, he grew up a Florida State fan, but he made his decision on Sunday morning. He texted his coach while his high school coach was sitting in church and told him, "Listen, I want to flip." And his high school coach said, "Let me get out of church and I'll call you and we'll talk about it." It was but the kid had wanted to come to Florida State. He had committed to Florida State as a freshman. They nailed him big time. It moved Florida State from number 8 in the rankings to number 5. So yeah, a lot of excitement, and obviously a lot of that excitement is not only because of what they did last year, but what we've seen during spring practice with this being Mike's deepest team and potentially could be his most talented team going into year 4.
And the point that you were making there of taking a kid from Colquitt County away from Georgia,
who is a 2-time reigning national champion.
We're 2-time. This is like seismic shifting in recruiting. Like, people, if you don't understand, it's not just about the tight end. It's about what just happened. Now, here's a kid that probably grew up a Seminole fan. Georgia came in. His high school coach, I'm sure, has a connection to Kirby and has delivered many players to Georgia. And here's a kid that just was like, listen, my heart is not in it. I want to go to Florida State. And this is a big deal. This is a huge shift that could be seismic, and if other guys follow him. But I can't say enough about what Mike Norvell has been able to do here.
Obviously, however he is selling his vision of where Florida State is going is working. We've talked to parents that have come out impressed with what they've been presented by the coaches. I can't remember the kid's name, but I think it might have been Jordan Seaton or Marquise Easley, who are both top 10 rated offensive linemen in the country. And the kid said, one of those 2 kids said, "Listen, when I saw my mom shaking my head in agreement with what Mike was saying, he goes, I'd never seen her do that before. She's never been in lockstep with what another college football head coach has told her or telling her son." So listen, he certainly seems to be authentic. We hear about how genuine he is and how honest he is with these kids on their visits. So listen, it's working. The winning helps, and whatever they're doing with these kids on these given weekends is certainly paying off.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word family there, like creating a family culture, and I think that's evident by the amount of guys who stayed for this year and said they had unfinished business and wanted to do something special here at Florida State. And I point to Jordan Travis, who has really kind of become the leader, it feels like, of this program on the field. And Mike was even saying today, I saw an interview, he thinks he's the most improved player, like, going into this year.
Wow.
Like, based on what we saw last year, what do you think the ceiling is there for Jordan Travis?
Well, listen, I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in America if he's not already. he is a guy that's can just continue to get better and better and better. And, obviously he is motivated by the fact that a lot of people didn't think he was a pocket passer. And, he certainly has improved there. And of course we know what a dynamic athlete he is. And listen, we've said this since early on when we started. The way he plays is why he's the leader of this team. I use the term warrior when you're talking about Jordan Travis, but to your point, Nick, Mike has talked about he has continued to get better each and every day. And yeah, this is definitively his team. I think it was his team last year. He has an innate quality to lead people that most people do not have. And this team is certainly going to go as Jordan goes. But listen, he's got some talent around him, man. I think one of the things that was interesting, particularly early on in spring, was despite the fact that this team has a lot of veterans coming back, and they brought a lot of veterans in for the portal, was a number of young kids that stood out. I'm talking about Brock Glenn, who should be in high school still, and Quindarius Jones, who should be in high school still. I mean, Dre Jacobs, repetitively these kids showed up. So listen, the future is bright for Florida State. I certainly understand why there's a sense of excitement. The ESPN just released its football power index for 2023, and Florida State's ranked 14th there. That is the lowest, I guess, they've been ranked in any preseason poll that I've seen. So, listen, it's fun to watch. It's been fun to watch. I mean, the defensive tackle situation is unbelievable.
Right.
They could be as dominant. Interior. Yeah, listen, I just was writing down notes before I came on here. You've got Bless Harris, Jeremiah Byers, and Robert Scott, and then you throw Julian Armella into the mix at offensive tackle. There's a chance that a guy that was either all conference player or started at Florida State last year may not start this year. I mean, that's how far they've come depth wise on the offensive line, because Bless started against LSU with Robert Scott. Jeremiah Byers was a all-conference player at UTEP 2 years in a row, and certainly probably the most athletic of all FSU's offensive linemen, along with Bless. So, the competition, JP, and you remember back in the old days when you and I were running around campus as college students, competition is really what made Florida State good, because if you didn't practice, you may not get your spot back. I mean, you could see guys get Wally pipped at Florida State practices if they miss. And listen, so they're starting to get back to that level. Daryl Jackson and Josh Farmer and Fabian Lovett were absolutely dominant at times this spring. They could not be blocked. You haven't even thrown Braden Fisk into the mix, the all-conference player from Western Michigan. So you got him, and then Obama Tafasi. He's a kid that's got a bright future in front of him. And listen, there's some depth issues at linebacker and defensive end when you lose Derek McClendon in the portal at defensive end, and you lose Brendan Gann at linebacker. Right now on campus, Florida State has 6 linebackers on scholarship. But listen, it's going to be interesting to see what personality this team forms together over the summer program when they come back in the fall. Now, I think one of the things that helped me get a better idea of what was going on with this team last year was the fact that I didn't see any spring ball. I came back from Atlanta working with a indoor pro football league, but there was a discernible difference in the way this team carried itself last year going into camp as opposed to the year before. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what kind of personality this team develops over the summer and going into fall camp. But there's a lot of reason to be excited.
Patrick Burney joining us from the Osceola, part of the Rivals Network. You talked about the linebackers, and this has been one of those things where that has been a bit of a weakness for the Seminoles. But now you've got 2 redshirt seniors in Tatum Bethune and Kalen DeLoach. And DeLoach, I know, had a good spring scrimmage. Your DJ Lundy's in the mix. You got this kid Blake Nicholson, who's not on campus yet, who's a true freshman coming from California. But from an inside linebacker position, there seems to be a lot of consistency and could be a strength of this team. Would you agree?
Yeah, listen, you don't really worry about the number so much if they're going to continue with that 4-2-5 base defense.
Right.
Where do you get worried about depth at linebackers if they want to go run a base 4-3? You've got 6 guys on scholarship now that are on campus that have been in the system. Can Blake Nicholson and Dylan Brown Turner come in and, number one, play as freshmen, learn the system. But and listen, and we've got Florida State over, depending on whether it's Kurt or Bob doing the math, by at least 1 scholarship to 2 scholarships.
Yeah.
So there's still going to be some guys enter the portal based off that number. Now, will Florida State address any of what they feel are deficiencies through the portal, which means there's going to have to be more than even 1 or 2 leave the program. So I think that's going to be fascinating. Do they attack the portal? Listen, and there's going to, the portal just opened on April 15th. So these kids have another 11 days to figure out what they're going to do. Will Florida State see any attrition from the portal? So we still got some little bit of time to go before we know exactly what the roster is going to look like. But either way, I mean, if a guy's leaving, it probably means he's not in your plans, right? So,
right.
So anyway, it's been fun to watch this spring. It's a team that likes to compete against each other, and they seem to be very close knit. And it's going to be a fascinating off season. And listen, this is the worst part of this job because now you're waiting to August to see these guys on the field again. Now, the good news for us is I'm working in recruiting, and I will start hitting the road in May to go watch some of these high school prospects go through spring practice, and that'll help speed up the process. But listen, it's amazing how far this team has come since the Osceola rebranded itself as a website.
Okay, so it's all you guys. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
No, well, I think it has more to do with Mike Norvell than it has to do with the Osceola. I'm just saying when they were stinking it up in 2019 when we restarted this thing, and
they've helped subscriptions dramatically, is what you're saying. That's good.
Well, and you can help subscriptions if your listeners would go to theosceola.com and subscribe to us. So yeah, if you want to check, we got great content on there. We'll have a live recap show tomorrow at 12:30. We try not to compete against JP, so we wait till 12:30 to go live on YouTube. So if you go to the Osceola YouTube channel, we're going to kind of do a roundtable. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Landon Thomas situation, and who knows, they may have another commitment or two before then.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. $9.95 a month. You can't go wrong if you're a Seminole fan. Come on, get on it. Get on it right now.
Hey, by the way, I did want to ask you about one guy offensively. It seems like he's been a spring kind of standout is Kentron Poitier. And I saw he was most improved player, I want to say, offensively last year. They named him. And it sounded like he had a really good scrimmage the other day. So what kind of level of excitement are you hearing about him?
Well, listen, he has stood out all spring. He's been one of the more consistent receivers. You see him make plays every day. I think he's a guy that's just, coming into his own. We get too impatient sometimes when these kids don't develop as quickly as we would like. And I think he's another guy that has the competition level at that position has helped him because they are very deep at wide receiver. You got 11 guys on scholarship. You got Winston Wright entering the mix, who looked very good early in spring, who was one of the best receivers in the Big 12. Johnny Wilson was limited a little bit in practice. And so listen, I think and Dre Jacobs, the freshman, has shown out. But yeah, Kentron definitely, to me, without knowing what, to me, he was the standout receiver for the spring, and looks like he's going to take that next step in his development based off what he did in the spring.
Is Micah Pittman going to be ready for fall, or what's his injury situation?
Yeah, listen, it's 4 to 6 months to come back from whatever that surgery he had on his hips. I don't know on his hip. I don't know what the details are. Listen, people come back from different injuries, but that puts him about online to be there towards the start of the season if that 4 to 6 months is correct. With that kind of injury, how long does it take for him to get into football shape after that? But even with Micah was to be delayed, you still got to feel good about where you are from a receiver standpoint. With you're finally getting Winston Wright on the field. Ja'Kai Douglas has looked really good at times.
Yeah.
And you got Goldie Lawrence coming in.
That's right. Hakeem Williams.
Yep. Yeah. So, and Dre Jacobs, listen, man, that kid does not look like a true freshman on the field. That kid's got a chance to play a lot as a true freshman. So
he look better than Hakeem Williams, who's the 5-star.
If you're asking me, yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. If you're asking me, yes, he is the more ready of the two as it stands right now.
Embarrassment of riches for FSU. So just in general, we wrap this up. You talk about guys like Jared Verse coming back and Trey Benson, and we could talk about all the young guys coming in, but that's going to be the core along with Jordan Travis. It's mind blowing almost that they were able to bring these guys back, and it feels like there's just something super special going on. We kind of felt that back in the late '80s before the dynasty run because the recruiting was just so good, and Bobby was just building such a great culture around there. It just seems to feel very similar to that with the way people talk about Mike Norvell, like you do, the authenticity, the genuineness, the family atmosphere, and then. The proof is in the pudding. The wins and the recruiting are just going through the roof. Does it kind of feel like this is a similar situation? We were both around back then, or at least
well, I was speaking to a group last week, and I said, there were a lot of longtime Florida State supporters. There were former coaches there, and the one thing I said is, every time we're outside on these Saturdays and after these practices, talking to these kids. The recruits, they talk about what a family atmosphere it feels like when they're around this staff, and that they call it feels like home. Listen, and I don't want to make expectations any bigger than they already are about the future of the program.
Right.
But the reality of it is, the last time you heard the words family and home about this program was when Coach Bowden was the coach. Now, listen, Mike Norvell and this program have a long way to go to get there,
right.
But they're certainly headed in the right direction. And you hear this from recruit after recruit after recruit. This is not just a one-off thing where people are coming out talking about family and home. Whatever they're doing is working with these recruits and these families.
All right, Pat, I know you gave the pitch already, but go ahead and tell everybody again how they can get the Osceola and what you guys got going on the next couple weeks.
Yeah, well, listen, we are obviously going to have some post-spring analysis and obviously getting ready to ramp up recruiting as the coaches will hit the road recruiting in April, the last half of April and the entire month of May. But you can go to floridastate.rivals.com or theosceola.com. We've got a scholarship number, as I just said. We'll take a look at who's on scholarship and how that may impact the portal. Obviously, some breakdown of Landon Thomas commitment, and I just came back from an all-star rivals camp on Saturday and Sunday in Atlanta where they had, I believe, 30 of the top 250 prospects in America, either from the classes of 2024, 2025. And listen, we got evaluations on some of those kids, video on some of those kids, and I got my practice report or my camp report after I watched these kids. But listen, please check us out, theosceola.com, floridastate.rivals.com. Both will get you to the same place, and we think you'll enjoy the content.
Yes, you will indeed. And with Patrick eyes on these particular players out at their high schools, at these showcases, trust that more than the stars that you see on some of these rankings, because those are the eyes of somebody who's been around a while and knows good football. So thank you for going out there and putting that in. And you guys put the time in and do it. So that's the difference. We really appreciate that. You don't just read lists and regurgitate them. You actually scout them. So that's a big deal. Thank you for your efforts, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Hey, y'all, listen. Y'all got to get the Rays turned around. Lost 3 of 4. I know the whole city's in a panic. I mean, everybody's canceling their World Series plans. Yeah. All right, guys.
We'll get the pitchers healthy. They'll be fine. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Burnham, theosceola.com. All right, quick break. We'll come back on the other side, and we got some Kyle Trask for you. We're going to talk about the Rays stadium situation. Very interesting article in the Times today, and a lot of behind-the-scenes things going on. I don't think that's a good thing. Talk about it next. Stay with us. Hey, guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area modern medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by. Never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com. Tell them JP sent you. Get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. We got a few minutes left. Going to get into a few more topics. Rays Stadium. We have a wrestling story that is of great interest to myself and Nick.
A wrestling story? I thought we were outlawed from talking about wrestling.
Well, not when it involves the Cavender twins.
Oh, we make exceptions now, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. We might be able to squeeze some Kyle Trask in as well, which is a little bit some interesting stuff yesterday. So it's news fest. All right, not as interesting as the Baker Mayfield press conference, I think, is what you're trying to say.
Hey, I mean, a quarterback going for 15 minutes though. What is that? I don't know what that is.
It wasn't Tom Brady, that's for sure. The alarm would have gone off at 9 minutes. All right, so gosh, I'm sorry, I got this.
So anyway, you got the story about the Rays Stadium, correct?
Yes,
the Rays Stadium, which you have
got me all choked up.
I know.
Got me all choked up. Yeah, so this was interesting. So the St. Pete Times, or Tampa Bay Times, still very St. Pete-ish, Colleen Wright and Jack Evans were dispatched to find out what was going on with the negotiations, and they put out all these public records requests. And evidently, what's going on now is they're trying to keep all these negotiations in the dark. And the Rays are doing their best, and the county commissioners are doing their best, and the people that are negotiating are to jump through certain hoops. Excuse me. So they don't have to have any public documents. Now, I'm no political expert here, but whenever political people are trying to keep things in the dark, that's not a good sign.
It doesn't sound good.
That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. And the city council member, Lisette Hanowitz, said, quote, "They asked us not to share the conversations. I'm trying to at least respect the process to make sure that we're engaged. I don't want there to be a scenario where we're not engaged because of stuff that's coming up in the news and it causes issues with negotiations." The article continues here. City Council member Gina Driscoll agreed that it was best to keep the discussions between the negotiating parties for now. Quote, "I do feel really confident that this is truly putting our city's best interests first as they work on this. I think the details of the negotiations on something that's this big, if someone doesn't know the whole story, they might arrive at a conclusion that is simply not accurate. With a deal this complicated, you can't really disclose one piece of it because that's not the whole story." Yes, we're going to protect you people because it's so It's so hard to figure out who's going to pay for the stadium and who's not going to pay for the stadium, and how much public money is going into it and how much isn't. So you little people, I know it is your money, but we're not going to tell you until the deal is done. Is that okay? No, it's not okay. It's not okay at all, because this is what's going on. Stu Sternberg is playing you again. And Stu Sternberg has asked you guys, let's keep this quiet. So as I take $1 billion of public money to build my stadium, inflate the value of the team, and then get the hell out by selling it and leave you guys with a stadium that is poorly located or terribly located, say thanks for the money, bye-bye. And then we're stuck with this stadium because you wanted to build a stadium in a place where it doesn't belong. And of course, Mayor Welch doesn't want the people of St. Petersburg to know he's going to spend $1 billion of their money and give it to a billionaire to enrich him. And it's still going to be the worst location of any baseball or any stadium in America. What are we doing? What are we like? How this is the only way this is going to get done is with a backroom deal that's already done before the people can weigh in. And you know why they're doing this? It's not because you wouldn't understand how it works. It's because they know if they put it out into the public that they're going to spend $1 billion on a ridiculously located stadium, that the people are going to go bananas. So that's why they don't want it out there. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand why people think that this is okay. And where's the editorial that comes along with this from the Times saying this is not okay? This is the biggest public money deal and maybe in the history of St. Petersburg. And you guys are okay with the fact that the city council and the mayor and the Rays are not making public any of these discussions? That's okay for a newspaper? Maybe there is an accompanying editorial. I don't know. But no, listen, we're old enough, we're big enough, we can understand what's going on. Now, I get to some degree, you can't do all the negotiating out in public. I get that. But there has to be some level of updating to what's going on before something is done. Now, there's not going to be a public vote on this. This is going to be the city commission, I guess, or city council that's going to be able to vote on this. So if they're going to go ahead and get the negotiations done and vote on it and then it be done before there's any public comment, and the only public comment we've had on this was really the election of Mayor Welch, and your mandate was not necessarily to give $1 billion to a billionaire who has basically given the city of St. Pete the finger and and Rays fans the finger for the majority of his ownership. And suddenly we're going to trust a guy who's being sued by his partners for fiduciary fraud, and you're going to do all this in the dark? Am I missing something here? Am I missing something here?
I don't believe so, no.
What? Like, this is okay? This is a thing?
Has anything about this entire process for 20 years ever made sense or
but where is
gone together?
Where is the public outrage? Like, where's the journalistic outrage? You're going to spend $1 billion, and especially for excuse me, but for the Times, for a billionaire to get another $1 billion of public money, and we're going to talk about this not in the sunshine. And I understand. Listen, you did the public records request, you did it all, and you wrote the story. But where is the outrage that this is not something that the public is going to be able to weigh in on? Mayor Welch, why are you doing this in the dark and not letting the public weigh in on this? Does the people of St. Petersburg don't go to the games?
I do want to ask you a question, though. I know it's early this season, and winning has helped the whole thing. But we were there last week on a weekday game.
Yeah.
And we saw nearly 22,000 in that stadium.
Yeah.
Even the two prior games, getting 13 or 14, whatever it was, I thought was a win for a weekday, right? Attendance has been up by almost 4,000 to 5,000 on average this year.
Yeah.
Say this trend continues this season, and they end with an average attendance around 17 or 18, which is around where it's at right now. If they end with that, which is a 5,000 increase on last year. Do you think any differently about that location
No.
this year, given the fact that the Rays have changed their marketing strategies and they're making an effort to get more people in the stadium.
No.
I don't know if you saw, but there's rumblings that they're going to open up the upper deck for the Yankees series.
Ooh, wow.
A lot of rumblings for that.
Nice.
Get more people in the building.
Awesome.
Because there seems to be a demand for it. I mean, does anything change your opinion on that if it went there that it could work?
No. Because I have 25 years
True.
of data that tells me it does not. And just because they finally start marketing the team.
Well, that was going to be my
and
rebuttal.
You're off to a 13-0 start.
That's my rebuttal, though. I want to see how the whole year goes, but they have these.
When this team goes south.
Well, let's see. If they keep these marketing things going, though, and let's say it continues to work, and then you just continue to do that in the years going forward, I mean, you can almost make the argument like, okay, it's going to work. Especially if you're just putting a 25,000-seat stadium in the first place.
No, I still think it's a failed location. These are hard. This is hard data. It's not just based on St.
I
Petersburg.
agree with you. I'm just trying to.
No, I get it. It's a good devil's advocate question to ask. But I think the other factors of the fact that there are $10 tickets, the 13-0 start. The fact that there has been some good momentum of ownership, but who's to say that they won't just flip back to do things the way they used to do once they get the money, the public money, which is very on brand for Stu Sternberg, or just sell the team and be left with a poorly located stadium. And whoever buys the team is not going to have the money to operate it efficiently because they're going to pay so much for the actual purchase of the team, blah, 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 blah. So no, I think the future of this team is in Tampa because of the location and the 3 times as many people within a 30-minute drive. That's not insignificant. That's wholly significant. And it's not even about right now. It's about 5 years from now when the stadium opens. What will the population patterns be? They'll still need no more people in St. Petersburg, but there's probably going to be another 1 million people between St. Peter or Tampa and Orlando, and in that surrounding areas if population trends continue. So you're never going to get more people within a 30-minute drive of St. Petersburg, significantly more, unless you build up, and that's just not something that's going to happen to a large degree in St. Petersburg. But it is going to happen in the Tampa area, and it's so much more accessible to the majority of the fan base. So, yeah, I still don't I think it's a terrible idea politically. And I think it's something where the same thing happened in Miami. You had a bunch of people in Miami that were scared to, quote, lose the Marlins, and they went and built a stadium in a terrible location because they didn't want to, quote, lose the Marlins. And what they've done is they've built a huge stadium that nobody goes to because it's poorly located. And a beautiful, huge stadium that nobody goes because it's poorly located. Nobody goes to the games in that area. It's too economically depressed. Nobody wants to go to games in that area. So, no, you'd be making the same mistake that they made in Miami. And the only reason they're keeping it all quiet is because Stu is playing you guys, city council. I wish you people would just wake up.
Let's not rip your best friend now.
He did shake my hand.
He did extend the hand.
He did extend.
Thank you for coming.
My hand's still hurting from that. Ooh, firm handshake. Wow. Did you have to squeeze it that? So that's what I think is going on. I think it's interesting that from this report here, they did not ask for any public records requests between the people in Tampa, because it's our understanding that the Rays are still talking to the people in Tampa as well, in Hillsborough County. So what are they doing the same thing over there? I would like to know. Maybe I should make a public records request. Maybe I should. All right. What were you telling me about the Cavender twins?
They are on their way to WWE.
WWE
they
instead of the WNBA.
They announced I don't think they're even good enough for the WNBA, respectfully.
I don't think they are either.
They announced that they were leaving Miami last week, and there was all these rumblings that they were going to go.
Because they had another year of eligibility.
Yes, and there were all these rumblings. I guess they were going to WWE, and I think that it was denied that they were, but I guess today I saw a story this morning. I guess they are, and they plan to start this spring at the Performance Center in Orlando.
Well, there you go. So why do basketball girls going into wrestling? Because they can make a hell of a lot more money. The rookie salary in the WNBA is $77,000. In fact, that's why some of these girls stay in college, because they make more in NIL money than they do playing in the WNBA. How about that?
Yeah, and I mean, the draw there, you were asking me why would they go there, and I'm like, they are going to make a ton of money
Yes.
if they get to the main roster. Because
Yes.
I was telling you there was the Bella twins, which you know probably from reality TV.
Yes.
I mean, they've
Heard of them, yes.
and that's honestly the draw right there.
Yeah.
They can learn how to wrestle and everything and take it serious. You can get on the main roster. Obviously, they're very attractive. They're going to get on TV pretty soon, and they can do kind of what the Bella twins did. And I told you they had like this whole little switch. They look identical. You won't tell who's who in the ring, and they can do kind of the same gimmick, if you will. They'll have a lot of success. I'm sure they'll turn into a reality show or whatever. They're going to make money on the side regardless forever. It's a money-making venture. Why would you try to peddle with women's basketball professionally when you can do this?
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant. Why wouldn't you? Absolutely. I wholly endorse it. I'd be interested to see if they change their appearance in any way.
In WWE?
Yeah.
No. You know, I wouldn't think they'd mess with something like that.
No? In any way?
No.
Didn't the Bella twins get some enhancements?
One Bella. Half a Bella, I think.
So they won't be identical anymore. You'll be able to tell the difference. Get the stats. I think that's rather interesting. All right, so we got some hockey tonight, 7:30, Bally Sports. Tune in for the pregame show with all our good friends, Dave and Chief and Andy and Paul and all the whole gang there. It's great to have them on board for the first round, and we'll see what happens tonight. Can't wait to see. I am completely. It's going to be fun, no question about that. It's a matter of who shows up. I think you'll see the best Lightning team by sometime in this series. I don't know if it'll be game one, but we shall see. All right, our thanks to Pat Burnham, who joined us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we usually have Scott Reynolds on our Wednesday, so we'll get his take as well on what's going on over at One Buck Place. Have a great day, everybody. Go Bolts. Go Rays.